The day I became a stranger. I noticed it first in the mirror. Not all at once, not some dramatic moment where I gasped or stumbled back or shattered the glass like in a movie, no. It was quieter than that. It started with my eyes. They looked like mine, same color, same shape, but something about the way they stared back at me didn't feel right. Like they weren't reflecting anything. Like I was in there, but not me. I blinked. I laughed it off. Told myself I was tired, that maybe I'd just woken up in a fog. But the next morning, it was still there. And the next. I began watching myself more carefully. While brushing my teeth, while tying my shoes, trying to catch myself doing something that would feel familiar, something that would prove I was still me. And yet, everything felt distant. I could still speak the way I always had. I still knew my name, my job, my passwords, where I kept the spare key. But it all felt second-hand, like I was performing a role someone else had written for me, like I was impersonating myself. At work, no one noticed. They still smiled when I walked in, still asked me how my weekend was. I gave the same answers I always gave. I even made a joke about my coffee addiction, the same one I'd been using for 2 years now. They laughed. Everything looked normal, but inside, it was like I was watching someone else live my life through a screen. Like I was behind glass, yelling through it, but no one could hear. I started testing myself, looking through old messages, reading journal entries, staring at photos, trying to find the thread that connected me to that version of myself. But it was like reading about a stranger. Same memories, same handwriting, different presents. I called my mum one night just to hear her voice. She answered like always, asked if I was okay. I told her I was just checking in. She told me she loved me, and I said it back, like I meant it. But it felt like I was watching someone else say it. The scariest part? Nothing had changed. No trauma, no accident, no breakdown. My life was exactly the same. And that's what made it worse. Because if something had happened, at least there'd be a reason. But this was just a slow, quiet unraveling, a soft drift from myself. That was the day I realized I didn't recognize the voice in my head anymore. It used to sound like me. Now it just sounded tired. Like it was trying to remember how to be a person, how to exist the right way. I didn't tell anyone, not yet. Because how do you tell people something's wrong when everything still looks fine? The hardest part wasn't the fear, it was the familiarity. Everything around me still followed the same patterns. My toothbrush was always in the same place. My apartment still smelled faintly like coffee and detergent. The floor creaked in the same spot between the hallway and kitchen. But I moved through it all like I'd just moved in yesterday. It was like walking through a memory I didn't fully own. I knew where things were. I knew the feel of the space. But it didn't feel like it belonged to me. I looked through old photos again, ones with friends, family, even vacations I barely remembered taking. I stared at my own smile, my own face, trying to study something real in the way I looked back at myself. But it just felt like an echo, something that used to mean something, but had been emptied of sound. I met up with a friend for lunch. David, someone I've known since school. He talked like normal, asked me about work, about dating, about whether I'd finally finished that book I was writing. I answered. I smiled. I even made him laugh once. But the whole time, I kept thinking, this isn't me. This isn't my life. He looked at me like I was still the same, like he didn't notice that everything inside me had gone quiet. And maybe that was the strangest part, that everyone else was treating me like I was still here when I didn't feel like I was anywhere at all. Later that evening, I went to the grocery store. I walked past shelves like I always had, picked up things I always bought, paid with the same card I always used, and as I walked out, this woman brushed past me, didn't say sorry, didn't even look at me. And for a second, I wondered if she could see me at all. Was I here, or just occupying space? Was I living or just maintaining? When I got home, I opened the drawer next to my bed. Inside was an old birthday card from my sister. The handwriting was familiar. Too familiar. It was mine. I'd written it. To myself. I'd completely forgotten. I did it last year. A stupid therapy trick I read online. Write a note to your future self, full of love and reminders and hope. But when I read it, I didn't recognize the voice. I didn't believe the words. It felt like a stranger trying to reassure me. And maybe it was. I don't know when I stopped feeling like a real person. I don't know if this is something people talk about, if they even have words for it. But lately I wake up feeling like I'm borrowing someone's name, living someone else's life, wearing a version of myself that doesn't quite fit. And I keep thinking, what if this is it? What if some people just drift out of themselves and never find their way back? I started sleeping on the couch, not because the bed was uncomfortable, not because of nightmares. I just didn't feel right lying in it, like I was stepping into someone else's routine. Someone I used to be. The couch was smaller, colder, but it felt more honest. I kept a notebook nearby, tried to write down the things I still recognized, about myself, about the world, about what it meant to be me. But every page came out strange. I'd write something like, I love black coffee, and then question it. Do I? Or have I just always said I do? What was preference and what was repetition? What was identity and what was habit? I thought about calling someone. Not David, not my sister. Someone who wouldn't just say, you're just tired. Or maybe you're depressed. Someone who'd hear me say, I don't know who I am anymore, and actually listen. But I didn't call. Because I wasn't sure I could explain it. Because the more I tried to describe it, the more it slipped away. I stopped looking in the mirror. Not because I was afraid, because I was tired of asking the same question and getting silence back. I stopped writing in the notebook. There were too many pages filled with question marks and scratched out truths. It felt like chasing smoke. One night, I stood in the middle of my living room and said my full name out loud, just to see how it sounded. It felt wrong in my mouth, like I was trying on someone else's skin. And then I did something I hadn't done in weeks. I sat down, closed my eyes, and let myself feel everything. Not fight it, not name it. Just be inside it. This hollow, heavy, quiet space, and in that silence a thought came. Not loud, not even comforting, just clear. Maybe I'm not supposed to go back. Maybe the person I was is gone. And maybe that's not a tragedy. Maybe people shed parts of themselves like old skin, not because they want to, but because they have to. Maybe I've been grieving someone who never existed in the first place. That night I fell asleep in my bed again, not because I felt like myself, but because I didn't feel like anyone else. And maybe that was enough, just for one night.